and sang. I went down to St. James Infirmary.
Okay, we're going to get right into the music before we get into the biography of our subject. These next three songs all recorded in 1923. The first is Tain't Nobody's Business. The second one is Downhearted Blues. And the third one is Gulf Coast Blues. All recorded by Bessie Smith, 1923.
if it keeps on snowing, I will be Gulf Coast bound. The mailman passed, but he did not leave no news. The mailman passed, but he didn't leave no news. I'll tell the world he left me with those Gulf Coast blues. Some of you men sure do make me tired. Some of you men sure do make me tired. You got a mouthful of gimme, a handful of much oblige.
All right, everybody, that is the sound of the second bell, and you know what that means. Yes, we have begun another session of the Swing Academy. Thank you for joining me today. It is a fantastic compliment that you have come week after week after week. You are listening to the Swing Academy, by the way. My name is James Udall. You're listening to me on jsmradio.com. I am broadcasting to you out of the fantastic, the great, the wonderful city of Halle an der Saale, Germany. Hello to all of my friends in Halle. And I am recording out of the wonderful city of Syracuse, New York, which is my new hometown. You can reach me here at the station. My email address is james.udall, U-D-A-L-L, at jsmradio.com. I would love to hear from you and love to hear any critiques or suggestions that you have. For those of you who are here for the first time, wondering what is the Swing Academy, well, this is a musical journey of learning where I am learning about myself, the musical genres of jazz, swing, and today we're going to delve into the blues. And this is my journey of learning. I really want to get to know these genres of music on a much more intimate and deeper level. So every week I choose an artist who has made an impact in either the genres of jazz, swing, or the blues, and I highlight them. We talk about their career, their history, who they were, what their influences were. I play some of their tracks and some of their better known and some of their lesser known pieces. And my intention is that at the end of about 90 minutes, I come away with each of these. I come away from each Swing Academy session with a much better understanding of the artist. I'm not a music professor. I don't have a music degree. I'm not a professional musician. I'm not even a professional broadcaster. I am a rank amateur, someone who just loves the music. I love jazz. I love swing. I love the blues. And I just want to learn more about them. So that's my disclaimer. I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not. I'm not your professor. I am not your teacher. If you take this journey with me, we are taking it together, and I'm learning as I put these broadcasts together. And it's amazing the amount of information that I've picked up over the last 9 or 10 weeks since I have been broadcasting these shows. Excuse me. This week's Swing Academy session, we're highlighting our first female artist. Her name is Bessie Smith. She is a blues vocalist. She is known as the Empress of the Blues, and her influence spans not only the length of her career, which began in the 1920s and ended in the mid 1930s, but her legacy has gone decades further. She has been a major influence on rock and roll bands, talking about artists like Mick Jagger, Janis Joplin, Melissa Etheridge. All of these rock and roll artists have cited Bessie Smith as a major influence. This is our first session, not only featuring a female artist, but also featuring an artist that was not born in New Orleans and wasn't part of the early Dixieland jazz movement. Bessie was born in the South, in the Jim Crow South, you would call it, in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So she was not born in New Orleans. She was not influenced by New Orleans jazz. But if you remember from our previous Swing Academy sessions, early jazz, which came out of New Orleans, was highly influenced by the blues. And Bessie is, she is a performer of the blues. So this music that we're going to focus on today is one of the early influences of jazz. You know, we had talked about the African influence in Congo Square in New Orleans, the ragtime influence, and then we have mentioned the blues. So now this is a component. So if we're calling jazz like we're calling it a gumbo, blues is a major ingredient of that gumbo. And you don't get jazz the way we know it without the influence of the blues. So I really like the character of Bessie Smith. I found that she was a fighter, an underdog, somebody who had so many strikes against her. I mean, back in the 19-teens and the 1920s when she's first coming up, first off, she's black in the Jim Crow South, strike one. She's a woman in a misogynist society, strike two. She is reported to be bisexual, and so therefore in the LGBTQ community, strike three. And then she was born in abject poverty, and she had lost her parents at a very, very young age, was raised by siblings, and so strike four, she was poor. So she had all these strikes against her, and yet she overcomes these hurdles, and she is able to persevere and just keep going and going and going. And that's it's a fantastic story. So that's why I really like her. I like anybody who can overcome adversity and succeed despite all of the handicaps that life may hand you. In that way, I think she's an inspirational story to us all. So anyway, I hope you enjoy learning about Bessie Smith. I've got about 10 tracks of her music to follow. I have a clip from a movie that she's made. I have some tracks from some other artists who have used Bessie Smith as an influence. And then I've got some contributors for the biographical part of the show. So anyway, without any further ado, I'd like to offer you our first female subject of the Swing Academy, blues legend, tremendous vocalist, a model of how one overcomes personal adversity. I give you the Empress of the Blues, Bessie Smith.
Aggravating, Papa, I'll do anything you
Okay, those two were also recorded in 1923. The first was Keep On a Rainin', and the second one we just heard was Aggravatin' Papa. Two good ones by Bessie Smith, 1923.
Bessie Smith is the greatest female blues singer who's ever lived.
Born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, in 1894, Bessie Smith hit the theater circuit at the age of 18, touring in minstrel shows and cabarets. She started her career as a dancer, on the same bill with legendary singer Ma Rainey.
Ma Rainey was always known as the ugliest woman in show business, and Bessie was not. Bessie was known as being beautiful.
Bessie segued from dancing to singing, and her talents drew large audiences. So she created her own show.
Bessie Smith's shows were often extravagant. She had as many as 40 people in the cast.
Bessie's show traveled the country, and in many areas of America, segregation was the norm.
In some places, there were black rooming houses, theatrical rooming houses, where they stayed. So when Bessie Smith had her own railroad car, that became their home away from home, and they cooked there and they slept there.
Bessie's success was enormous for the time, and she was pulling in the unheard-of sum of $2,000 a week.
Just the whole idea that Bessie Smith and Ma Rainey were able to make a living at that time. These women were writing their stories, singing them, and making their own money, and they were emancipated women to me. They were the first feminists.
Bessie understood the hard-drinking, promiscuous, and violent life she sang about in the blues because she lived it.
At the end of the songs, you always got this sense that despite all this, that this was a woman who was going to overcome it. And she did.
By the early 1920s, Columbia Records discovered her, and she became the best-selling blues artist of her time, making almost 160 recordings, including tunes like Backwater Blues and Tain't Nobody's Business If I Do.
She had a good business mind. She would sell the records in the aisle. She also sold other merchandise. The Bessie Smith show was a traveling marketplace.
When I discovered Bessie Smith, I was like, oh, that's where Janis got her stuff. That's where Mick Jagger, Robert Plant, everybody's been listening to Bessie Smith.
I hate to see that evening sun go down.
Smith's rich life was cut short by a car crash at the age of 43. Thousands turned out to mourn her, but she lay in an anonymous plot until rock legend and fan Janis Joplin bought her a headstone several decades later.
She had a swagger. She had a incredible booming voice.
Rock and roll is rhythm and blues, and it came from the blues of Bessie Smith.
Oh, my baby, he's done left this
All right, this next one is called I'd Rather Be Dead and Buried in My Grave. How's that for the name of a blues song? I don't have the year recorded, but I do like the title and I really like the song. I hope you do too.
a fox without a hole, a ship without a sail, like a dog has got a dozen cans dangling on his tail. I'd rather be dead and buried in my grave, mean old grave, just soon to wallow in the mud, is to be treated like a hog. I feel like I'm somebody's old sheep killing dog. I'd rather be dead and buried in my grave, mean old grave. Here's a man that's got me sniffing, sniffing dope and drinking gin. It's another one that put me in this old hole I'm in. He heard me when he left. Nobody but the Lord can tell. I asked him where
about loving women and faithless men, about pain and sorrow. She sang about joy, too. She was a black American, and from the pain and the suffering of her people, she helped create the first truly American music. She was Bessie Smith. Bessie Smith was born in a shack in Chattanooga, Tennessee. The year was probably 1894. We can never be sure because in those days the local white governments didn't pay much attention to such details as the birth certificates for black babies. In those days, a black child had even less of a future in white America than now. There were really only two possibilities. Either you settled for a life of scrubbing floors and tending other people's children, or you could be an entertainer. If you had talent, that was a way out. Bessie got out. At the age of 9, on street corners in Chattanooga, with her brother Andrew playing guitar, she began to sing for nickels and dimes. And when she was 18, her oldest brother Clarence got her an audition with a black traveling show, and she was hired, mainly as a dancer. It was 1912. Silent movies were just beginning to catch on. But the most popular entertainment of the day was called vaudeville. Live shows with singers and dancers, comedians and acrobats, all sorts of acts that toured from one town to another, one theater to another. That was the kind of world Bessie became part of. Ma Rainey was also part of that world. Gertrude Ma Rainey. They called her the mother of the blues. She happened to be traveling with the show at the time Bessie was hired. She became a mother to Bessie and to her talent. And soon, Bessie began to sing the blues on her own. Now, what exactly is the blues? Actually, the first blues song ever published was W.C. Handy's Memphis Blues. But the blues had been around in the songs and the chants the black slaves brought with them from Africa, in the work songs they sang in the cotton fields, in the hymns they sang in church after they became Christians, hymns that were called spirituals. As the great black composer Duke Ellington put it, these slaves studied the book of wisdom and set to music words of comfort and hope, which year after year were handed down to their colored brethren. Out of their lives, loves, joys, and despair, there came the kind of songs that summed it all up. W.C. Handy called it the blues. Right around 1914, Bessie was coming into her own. She was just a teenager, and she obviously didn't know she was the artist she was. She didn't know how to dress. She just sang in her street clothes. But she was such a natural. She only made $10 a week, but people would throw money on the stage, and the stage hands would pick up $3 or $4 after every performance. When World War I ended in 1918, blacks came back from fighting for the U.S., looking for equality and justice. But whites were more interested in prohibition. The Congress had outlawed drinking, and white America went crazy. They bought bootleg whiskey in cars, and radios, and phonographs. It was the phonographs and the radio that brought popular music into the home and made Bessie Smith famous. By 1922, Bessie was playing the big time. The blues were becoming a hit. Record companies began to make records with black artists for black audiences. They called them race records. At first, blues belonged to the South. It was not for the taste of better class people. But that was changing. 1923 was the year Bessie turned her stormy romance with a night watchman named Jack G into a stormy marriage. It was also the year she made her first record. She went to New York City, stayed in Harlem, and recorded for Columbia Records. At that first session, Bessie sang downhearted blues and Gulf Coast blues. In 6 months, she went from a touring Southern vaudeville singer to a star whose first record sold 780,000 copies. She began to tour her own show. Everywhere she went, people had heard the records and wanted to see her in person. In the 1920s, black performers changed the sound and the beat of American entertainment. They began to spread this new style around the world. The jazz age had arrived. But the business of entertainment was run by white people. They spent most of the profits developing white performers who copied the jazz style. In her career, Bessie Smith earned only a small percentage of what she deserved, but she still did a lot better than most black performers. She sang My Man Blues, Money Blues, You've Lost Your Head Blues, Hard Driving Papa, and There'll Be a Hot Time in the Old Town Tonight. She also drank and swore. She had noisy romances with other men and women. And she was a fighter. If she thought she was being done wrong, she could brawl with the toughest of them.
Don't you hit me? Now, yeah. Now, wait a minute, Jeff. Grab the woman.
The blues wasn't just entertainment. It was life. Bessie's life and the life of her people. In 1929, the stock market crashed and America began its long tumble into depression. 1929 was also the year that sound began to make it big in films. It was also the year Bessie made her only movie. It was W.C. Handy's dramatization of his song, St. Louis Blues. After she made this movie, the blues descended on Bessie and her world. A marriage to Jack G finally ended with bruises and scars and another woman. The nation slipped deeper and deeper into depression. People didn't have the money to buy records. In 1931, after 8 years, Bessie's contract with Columbia Records ended. Vaudeville was dying too, more the victim of talking pictures than the depression. Hard times. But Bessie adapted as best she could. When swing became the new popular style, Bessie proved she could swing with the best of them. It was happier music for a sad time in history. She married again, and slowly things began to change. By 1937, the nation and Bessie were beginning to make a comeback. Business was picking up for the record industry. Bessie signed a new contract and was getting ready to record again. There was also the promise of another movie. Into her 40s, Bessie's body was bruised by 20 years of hard living. She had weathered the storms of her private life and her performing life, and now she was defying the odds again on her way back.
Okay, here comes Beale Street Mama. This one was also recorded in 1923. 23 was kind of Bessie Smith's breakout year. She had been performing for quite a bit of time before that, but she really kind of made her mark beginning in 1923. And so most of our recordings will be from the early 20s in this period of time.
In the spring of 1927, a train carrying a blues singer and her band stopped suddenly outside a southern Ohio town. A great flood had inundated the valley, and the railroad tracks were covered by water. The troupe had to be ferried by rowboat to the theater they were playing. The audience asked her to sing a blues about the flood. She said she was sorry, she didn't know one. But as soon as she got home, she wrote one out.
Backwater blues done called me to pack my things and go. Backwater blues done called me to pack my things and go. 'Cause my house fell down and I can't live there no more.
Her name was Bessie Smith, and her public, overwhelmingly black, mostly poor, always looked to her to say what they could not. Bessie Smith lived the kind of life she sang about in her songs.
But it's hard to love someone when that someone don't love you.
She had come up the hard way, singing for pennies on street corners at age 9. But almost from the moment she recorded Downhearted Blues in 1923, Smith was the unchallenged Empress of the Blues.
I've had it all my days.
When I was a little girl, the gospel singer Mahalia Jackson remembered, I felt she was having troubles like me. She expressed something we couldn't put into words.
It seemed like trouble going to follow me to my grave.
Bessie Smith sold so many records, got so famous, that she was cast in an early sound film, one of the first to feature black performers.
My man's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. My man's got a heart like a rock cast in a sea. My man's got a heart like a rock.
Smith drank hard and had a fearful temper. If she didn't like the way things were going on stage, she sometimes tore the curtains down around her. She could not abide rivals and distrusted powerful accompanists for fear they'd steal the spotlight.
After her performance, she sent for me. And so I put my horn down and went up there, and she says, "You little son of a gun," said, "you played too damn loud. So don't play loud like that on my..." And she gave me hell on my song. So I knew I was playing a little loud on the saxophone at that time. That's the only problem I had with Bessie. But she was a lovely person to know, and could sing like the devil.
There ain't nothing I can do.
One sweltering July night in 1927, Smith and her troupe were performing under a tent in Concord, North Carolina. When a member of the band slipped out for a breath of fresh air, he spotted half a dozen members of the Ku Klux Klan headed their way. The musician ran inside and told Bessie to run. Bessie wouldn't hear of it. She stormed out of the tent, ran toward the Klansmen instead, shaking her fist and cursing. "I'll get the whole damn tent out here," she shouted. "You just pick up them sheets and run." Faced with Bessie Smith and a tent full of her loyal fans, the Klansmen fled. Smith returned to the bandstand and began again to sing.
Ain't nobody business if I do.
Nobody messed with Bessie, Anise remembered. Black or white, it didn't make any difference.
If I go to church on Sunday, then just shimmy down on Monday. Ain't nobody's business if I do. If I do.
I play a lot of music for my children. But I think the music that I play for them that I most want them to listen to is blues. There's something about blues as an expression of the human condition that is just so powerful. If there was no Ralph Ellison, there was no Harlem Renaissance, no Marcus Garvey, no Elijah Muhammad, no Frederick Douglass, black people hadn't achieved anything else on this earth but just the creation of blues. It would still make black people a similarly important people in the creation of the modern world.
There's 14 million Negroes in our great country, and they will buy records if recorded by one of their own, because we are the only folks that can sing and interpret hot jazz songs just off the griddle correctly. Perry Bradford.
The records Bessie Smith and her rivals made were a sensation in black communities all over the country. Newsboys sold blues records. So did door-to-door salesmen. Pullman porters carried copies south with them and peddled them at whistle stops. The Chicago Defender urged lovers of music everywhere and those who desire to help in any advance of the race to buy the work of black singers and musicians. Before long, OK, Paramount, Vocalion, and Columbia had all developed specialty catalogs meant for black audiences. Race records, just as they had already created special ethnic catalogs for other minorities. Race records were soon selling more than 5 million copies a year, and black entrepreneurs were eager to get in on the action. The pianist Clarence Williams became an impresario and made more money publishing music, managing talent, and producing records than he ever had performing. Black Swan, the first African-American recording company, was established with the slogan, "The only genuine colored record. Others are only passing for colored." All stockholders, all employees, and all artists were black.
And I'd have to travel by streetcar. I'd pass the Black Belt. I noticed places called Gallimaufry shops. I saw records there. Jazz, I thought. I found nickel and dime used records. They were called Vocalion, Bluebird, OK. And there was Big Bill Brunsey. There was Tampa Red, there was Memphis Minnie, there was Petey Wheatstraw, the High Sheriff of Hell, Devil's Son-in-Law. There was Big Maceo Merriweather. There was Memphis Slim. And they were hearing, many was double entendre, blues. But I heard the blues. I never heard music like that before, ever.
They took my beat to the burying ground. And I watched the pallbearers as they slowly laid her down.
All right, this is another one from 1923. Surprise, surprise. It's called Baby, Won't You Please Come Back Home? And that seems, if that's not bluesy, I don't know what is. I think blues really has a way of capturing heartbreak, and I'm sure it's where it comes from.
I'd give the world if I could only make you understand. It truly would be grand. I'm gonna tell her on my baby, asking, won't you please come home? 'Cause when you gone, I'm worried all day long. Baby, won't you please come home? Baby, won't you please come home? I have tried in vain, nevermore to call your name. When you left, you broke my heart. That will never make us part. Every hour in the day, you will hear me say, baby, won't you please come home? I mean, baby, won't you please come home? Baby, won't you please come home? 'Cause your mama's all alone. I have tried in vain, nevermore to call your name. When you left, you broke my heart. That will never make us part. Landlord's getting worse. I got to move May the 1st. Baby, won't you please come home? I need money. Baby, won't you please come home?
Here we go, recorded in 1923 yet again. This one is entitled Oh Daddy Blues.
Just like a flower, why I'm fading away. The doctor calls to see me most every day, but he don't do me no good. Why? Because I'm lonesome for you. And if you care for me, then you will listen to my plea. Oh, Daddy, look what you doing. Look what you doing. Oh,
Okay, we just had Oh Daddy Blues. I think now then it's only right that we hear a song called Mama's Got the Blues. This one was also recorded in 1923.
Some people say that the weary blues ain't bad. Some people say the weary blues ain't bad. But it's the worst old feeling that I've ever had. Woke up this morning with the jinx around my bed. I woke up this morning with the jinx around my bed. I didn't have no daddy to hold my aching head. Brown skin's deceitful, but a yellow man is worth. Brown skin's deceitful, but a yellow man is worth. I'm gonna get myself a black man and play safety first. I got a man in Atlanta, two in Alabama, three in Chattanooga, four in Cincinnati, five in Mississippi, six in Memphis, Tennessee. If you don't like my peaches, please let my orchard be.
Okay, I have a question for you. Listen to these clips from 3 different songs and try to guess what they all have in common. Could you figure it out? Whether directly or indirectly, all of these songs were inspired in some way by blues music. But how are all these songs that sound so different influenced by the same music? And what makes blues music the blues?
Because if you don't like the blues, you don't like your mama. Because this is the root of music, man. It's like cooking potatoes. You may fry them, you may bake them, you may cut them up, you may smash them, but they're still potatoes.
Gritty guitar solos, wailing harmonicas, and soulful lyrics about life's hardships are all part of what makes people love the blues. But how did this music start, and why is it so important to American music? The answer to this question can be found deep in the Mississippi Delta of the American South, where the blues was born sometime in the late 1800s.
Even after slavery officially ended, poverty and unjust laws kept people from full freedom. Many former slaves stayed in the South and continued to work in difficult conditions. People sang spirituals at church and worked songs in the field to help deal with the daily struggles. Over time, this music developed into what people now call the blues.
Most blues musicians were farm workers by day and would play at blues bars called juke joints by night. The earliest form of the blues was often referred to as country blues or Delta blues, and this style usually had a solo singer who would also either play the harmonica or bottleneck slide guitar. Bottleneck slide guitar is when a musician presses a hard object across multiple strings on a guitar and slides it down the fingerboard. Sometimes they would use a steel bar, a knife, or a bottleneck, and this would create a smooth wailing type of sound. The Delta blues also emphasized rhythm, fingerstyle guitar, and reflective lyrics about the hard lives of African American farmers in the South. As blues music grew in popularity, some musicians like Charlie Patton, Eddie James Sunhouse Jr., and Robert Johnson became famous and toured around the Delta region. Later, blues musicians started performing in Memphis, Tennessee to establish their careers. This included famous bluesmen like B.B. King and John Lee Hooker.
During what's known as the Great Migration from 1910 to 1970, millions of African Americans tried to escape the racism and Jim Crow laws of the South by moving to northern cities. Many moved to the city of Chicago in particular. Blues musicians like Howlin' Wolf, Willie Dixon, and Muddy Waters made this journey and brought the blues with them. They also developed a new Chicago blues sound. Chicago blues was basically the same style of blues played in the Delta, except played more energetically with an electric guitar, sometimes a bass guitar, piano, and drums. Listen to this clip from Robert Johnson's Delta blues style song, I Believe I'll Dust My Broom, recorded in 1936.
I'm gonna write a letter, telephone every town I know.
Now listen to a 1966 version of the same song in a more Chicago style by Howlin' Wolf.
I'm gonna write me a letter, telephone every town I know.
Now this Chicago style would later have an influence on rock and roll, but we'll talk more about that later.
What gives you the blues in RA? When they run out of peanut butter jelly?
Oh wow, you know me really well now. How much experience do you have playing the blues?
That is a very interesting question because it's also asking me how much experience do I have playing gospel, rock and roll, R&B, soul.
It's all
music.
intertwined.
Yeah.
I actually did an episode on my channel on the blues a year ago. And since then, I've learned a lot about blues.
Okay.
About the blues as a genre and also the form.
How would you say blues music and your realm of classical music are related?
The way that melody is formed over chords, how it's elaborating upon different chords, different chord progression, I think that's where the similarity is.
Right, right.
The new Cadillac XT4, XT5, and XT6.
So what is it that makes blues music sound bluesy? Well, let's take a look at the scale that's most commonly found in blues songs, which is a 6-note scale based off of a 5-note scale. That 5-note scale either being the major pentatonic scale or the minor one. And as you can hear, these 5-note scales are quite different than the 7-note scales that you most commonly hear in Western music. Now going back to the major pentatonic scale, to that we're going to add a flat 3 from the root note. So that'll sound like this. To the minor one, we're going to add the flat 5 from the root note, and that'll sound like this. Another important part of the blues is the form, and most blues will follow a 12-bar blues chord progression, which is based around 3 different chords. Those chords in C major will be C, the 1 chord, F, the 4 chord, and G, the 5 chord. And these chords will be repeated in a specific order, most commonly with a flat 7 as well. So a C7, F7, and G7. And that'll sound like this. C7 for 4 measures, 3, 4, F7 for 2, C7 for 2, G7 for 1, F7 for 1, and back to C7 for 2. Of course, improvisation is a huge part of the blues and no tune is complete without it, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Is there something that is similar to what a blue note is in terms of pitches in the context of just drums?
Absolutely. With pitch is like if you're playing in between a C and a C sharp, there's a note in between the C and the C sharp. A blue note in rhythm would be like if it's directly on the beat, or there's notes in between the quantized beats that you could still ride with. Another important element of blues is its AAB lyrical structure. Let's go back to the Robert Johnson track, I Believe I'll Dust My Broom.
I'm gonna get up in the morning. I believe I'll dust my broom.
Now, do you know what lyrics come next?
I'm gonna get up in the morning. I believe I'll dust my broom.
It's the first line repeated. This AAB lyrical structure is very common in the blues. It's inspired by the call and response style of singing in African American spirituals and work songs. In the blues, the first line is often repeated and the third line answers.
Up in the black man you've been loving. Good friend can get my room.
Of course, what the lyrics are about is also important.
Now, true blues, the lyrics are absolutely true, saying about life experience. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but they didn't lie.
As blues musicians moved from the South and took their music to different parts of the U.S., the blues mixed with other musical styles from those regions and helped inspire many new genres.
The 12-bar blues chord progression became one of the most popular forms for early jazz improvisation. Jazz performers like Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Miles Davis were all influenced by the blues, often using a 12-bar structure for their songs. The 12-bar structure was also a major influence on rock and roll. Some even call rock and roll blues with a backbeat. And Elvis Presley probably had this in mind when he recorded his version of a blues song by Big Mama Thornton called Hound Dog.
Blues also inspired other rock and pop artists, such as
Go, Johnny, go. Can't buy me love. I'm with you, my love. Let's have a ball and a biscuit, sugar.
all of these songs use some form of the 12-bar structure or the blues scale. The pentatonic and blues scales are even common throughout heavy metal music. Country music too. In fact, country is thought to be the result of blues music mixing with folk music brought by European immigrants to the U.S. Because of this, many country songs are written with the blues scale or following the 12-bar blues progression. Blues, here we go.
Blues.
Hello friends, it's that time of year again. My favorite time of year, fall, Day of the Dead, All Souls Day, Halloween. I used to work at the costume store, and this was always when people got to live out their inner lives, thinking about the past and the future. I'm thinking about Bessie Smith. My house is so haunted with dead men I can't lose. My house is so haunted with dead men I can't lose. And this creepy old feeling give me the haunted house blues. You know I can't sleep no more. I have lost my appetite. I can't sleep no more. Man, I lost my appetite. 'Cause a creepy old spirit hangs around me day and night. And he moans when I'm sleeping. He wakes me at 3 a.m. dead, happy Halloween. Don't forget to vote.
Then came a tragic ending in Memphis with her new husband, Richard Morgan. Her show had done good business. It was scheduled to open in Darlin, Mississippi on Sunday afternoon. They left Memphis about 1 a.m. and headed south on Route 61. They had driven about 75 miles. Richard was tired. The road was dark and seemingly endless. There was a huge truck. Richard swerved to miss it, but it was too late. Bessie's death was sudden and shocking. Even now there is disagreement over exactly what happened. Some say she was rushed by ambulance to a white hospital and denied emergency care. The story goes that she was then taken to a black hospital, but was dead on arrival. To this day, nobody knows what really happened. Bessie Smith was gone, but the blues lives on.
Smith's rich life was cut short by a car crash at the age of 43. Thousands turned out to mourn her, but she lay in an anonymous plot until rock legend and fan Janis Joplin bought her a headstone several decades later.
She had a swagger. She had a incredible booming voice.
Rock and roll is rhythm and blues, and it came from the blues of Bessie Smith.
The car was forced off the road somehow or other and turned over. Her arm was nearly severed. And then the guy had a very dramatic story about how an ambulance came and because she was black wouldn't pick her up. And then they had to wait until somebody took her to a hospital in Clarksdale. And there was difficulty about admission there. And the story he told me was that she died of loss of blood on the way from Clarksdale to Memphis.
I'm gonna get myself a black man and play safety first.
By the time the doctor got there, and this is a white doctor, and he was a decent man, she was almost beyond saving. She had lost so much blood.
All right, these next two recordings are just meant to show the long-lasting influence that Bessie Smith has had upon music. Shortly after her death, the second recording you're going to hear is by a blues musician named Walter Davis, and he recorded a ballad, a blues ballad dedicated to Bessie Smith. And then this next recording you're going to hear right now is recorded by a modern alternative, maybe even punk band, just done in 2020. And again, it just shows that almost 100 years after Bessie Smith's death, she is still inspiring musicians. So anyway, it's these are part of her legacy.
Mesmerized by the road. He tried to avoid an oncoming truck by driving around his left side. The tailgate of the truck sheared off the wood roof of Smith's old Packard. Bessie was in the passenger seat. She took the full brunt of the impact. Morgan escaped without injuries. completely severed. First on the scene was a Memphis surgeon, Dr. Hugh Smith. Another car approached at high speed in the darkness. The doctor flashed his lights. But the car did not stop. It plowed straight into Bessie's old Packard. The young couple driving escaped without injuries. The first ambulance to arrive was from the Whites Only Hospital in Clarksdale. Called by a truck driver, unaware that the victim was black. The crew wouldn't take her there. Bessie Smith was eventually taken to Clarksdale's G.T. Thomas Afro-American Hospital. During the long journey, Bessie lost too much blood. She died that morning without regaining consciousness. 10,000 mourners filed past her coffin on Sunday, October the 3rd. Her grave remained unmarked until 1970.
Bessie Smith when I ride in, when I ride in a limousine. Bessie Smith when I ride in, when I ride in a limousine. Well, that poor girl died suddenly. It was the worst I ever seen. Yeah, she left her good man standing by her bedside crying. Yeah, she left her good man standing by the bedside crying. Well, the people's all excited. Oh, the way Miss Bessie died. Well, it took poor Miss Bessie way down some lonesome road. Well, it took poor Miss Bessie way down some lonesome road. Well, that poor girl gone this morning. Mister, she ain't gonna sing no more. Bessie Smith wore pearl, and she wore diamond and gold. Bessie Smith wore pearl, and she wore diamond and gold. Well, that poor girl gone this morning. Mister, she won't wear no more. Well, poor Miss Bessie, oh, we'll meet someday. Well, poor Miss Bessie, oh, we'll meet someday. Well, I hope we meet in heaven. Ooh, well, when you put your body away.
I've got the meanest man in the land, but his love is that thick and brand. His kiss just lingers on my lips and thrills me to my fingertips. People say I'm a fool. He's heartless and oh so cruel. But outside of that, he's all right with me. Outside of that, he's sweet as he can be. I love him as true as stars above. He beats me up, but how he can love. I never loved like that since the day I was born. I said for fun, I don't want you no more. And when I said that, I made sweet Papa sore. He blacked my eyes, I couldn't see. Then he pawned the things he gave to me. But outside of that, he's all right with me. I said for fun, I don't want you no more. And when I said that, I made sweet Papa sore. When he pawned my things, I said, you dirty old thief. Now then he turned around and knocked out both of my teeth. Outside of that, he's all right with me.
Bessie no mind. Don't pay Bessie no mind. No, this is my room. Bessie just pays for it.
All right, this last piece actually is an excerpt, a clip from Bessie Smith's 1929 motion picture debut, which is called St. Louis Blues. It was made in 1929. The movie has an all African American cast. It was one of the first talkie films, and her popularity was probably at its pinnacle at this point in time, because it wasn't very common to be cast in a major motion picture. I think one of her most iconic songs is also the title of the movie. So she's going to sing a song in here called St. Louis Blues. It's really gritty. The scene, it's hard to tell what's going on in the beginning, maybe the first 20, 30 seconds of the clip, but she catches her man cheating on her, like right in the act. I mean, she catches him up in a room, her own room, with another woman. It's a little bit misogynist. She begs and begs him not to leave her, but then she somehow finds the strength to overcome. And I guess that's really the point of the blues, is finding, singing about your pain and getting the pain out, but also finding the strength from within to overcome your pain. So that's the message I get from this song, or the message I'm choosing to take from this song and this motion picture. But you should go ahead and check it out. And what we'll do is, after this clip, we will say goodbye, and we'll call it a show. So I'll catch you on the back side of this recording, and I hope you find it interesting.
Don't I give you everything you say you want? What have I got? I give you clothes. I give you suits. Suits? Yes. Singular, baby, not plural. One suit, that's all. One suit. Don't leave me, Jimmy. Oh, woman, get out of my face. Don't leave, Jimmy, please. Don't leave, Jimmy. My man. My man's got a heart like a rocket in the sea. My man's got a heart like a rocket in the sea. My man's got a heart like a rocket in the sea. My man's got a heart like a rocket in the sea. To see that evening sun go down. Yes, I hate to see that evening sun go down. Oh, my baby, he's done left this town. far from me.
All right, everybody, that's the sound of the bell. Class is now dismissed. I would like to thank you all for joining me in this session of the Swing Academy. I hope you enjoyed learning something about Bessie Smith, her career, her music, her really tragic end, but more importantly, her influence on music that would come after her, namely rock and roll. She was called the Empress of the Blues. It seems like she lived like an empress, and that, she was a wonderfully talented, a very gifted musician, and had an unmistakable voice. So again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for spending your time with me. I invite you back next week. Next Thursday, we'll do this again with another session of the Swing Academy. I don't know who we will be featuring, but I know it will be somebody really, really good. If you have suggestions for a future Swing Academy, please email me here at the station. My email address is james.udall@jsmradio.com. So if you'd like to hear me highlight somebody that you've always been interested in, don't hesitate. Send me an email. So thanks again for stopping by. I really enjoyed this time that we shared together, and I hope that you had fun too. So again, come back next Thursday at 8 p.m. Berlin, 9 p.m. New York, 6 p.m. on the West Coast for the next episode of the Swing Academy. Thanks again. Keep swinging.